Do you want to wake up feeling like you're stepping into who you're meant to be, into the best possible version of you? What if I told you that the key to your best life, health, and happiness are all around you? You just have to find what works for you. I'm Hope Pedraza, and I believe that there isn't just one way to live a healthy and meaningful life, and that all you need is a little inspiration to make changes that last from the inside out. Each week, I'll be sharing tangible tips and inspirational interviews to help you on your journey. These are the steps to take to improve your life and live with purpose. This is Hopeful and Wholesome. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Hopeful and Wholesome. It has been a couple weeks now, maybe more than that, since I've done a solo episode after doing like a bajillion of them all at once. Not really, it was like 9, but it felt like a lot. And so I've been having some really incredible guests on the show that I've launched lately, but I wanted to come back on and do a solo episode and tie in some more human design pieces. And in this episode, I want to tie in the human design pieces with the physical wellness pieces. And I feel like I want to kind of bridge that gap a little bit more as I talk about human design and I talk about functional wellness, but there's this beautiful bridge between the two. And I just want to make those connections more often to help you really be able to connect the dots in your own health and your own wellness in your own life so that you can take yourself on, the healing journey that you're wanting, that you're longing for, and to really see the healing that you're longing for, whether that's physical healing or emotional healing, mental health, like all those parts of you that always, we're always working on. So in this episode, I'm going to go through the different human design types. And if you've never listened, if this is your first time you've ever listened to this podcast, I've talked about human design a lot before. And I did this whole 9-part series last month and the month before, going through kind of my own journey through human design, and talked a lot about how to integrate that into your human design. So that being said, if you don't know what your human design type is, I highly recommend that you just go to myhumandesign.com. You need to know your exact birth date, time, and place. And if you don't know what human design is at all, then I would say go back and listen to these other episodes to kind of get some background. But if you are here, you need to know your type for this. And that's all you need to know. If you don't know anything else but your type, then you're in the right place. You're in a good spot. So I love using human design as part of the healing process because it is such, again, this bridge, right? Connecting this bridge to the physical health, to the energetic and spiritual, emotional health, all those pieces. And when you look at wellness through the lens of human design, you might have heard me make this connection before because I've talked about this connection on some episodes here and a lot of podcast episodes or interviews I've done in other people's podcasts, because honestly, I think just like anything else, especially in the Western world, we separate things out. Like we're so good at separating things. And the fact is that everything and everything is connected, right? Everything is connected. And when we look at wellness through the lens of human design, we can really see this really incredible connection between these two worlds, the physical body and the energetic or ethereal body, right? There's connection there. And we can see that most physical imbalances can be traced back to the stress that's created from going against our design, right? We spend a lot of our lives going against how we're designed and living as someone that we're not designed to be. Right? We're living by the shoulds. I've talked about that before, living by the shoulds and doing things how we think we quote should be doing them, or how we've been conditioned from society, our family, generations. A lot of times it's literally programmed in our DNA from generations past. And we have no control that's how we came into this world, that was what was programmed in our DNA and our cells. But we can control what we do with it, right? We can't necessarily control the genes that we're born with in this world. We can control how they express themselves. And when we get stuck living out of alignment with our energy, right? Like living by the shoulds, and kind of we start to meet resistance, right? We start to feel stuck in a plateau, frustrated, kind of maybe in a fog, like you're stuck in mud, like you're taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing, right? We feel that kind of energy in our lives. And this is the sign that we're living out of alignment with our energy. And it's out of alignment with our energy, our needs, our wants. And this, my friends, is when your not self theme shows up. So in human design speak, this is you feeling your not self theme. And I'm going to talk about what your not self theme is as I go through each of these types and talk about how that shows up in your physical body. But human design really is the blueprint that we can use to bring us back into alignment and bring our bodies back into balance. So every single part of us can thrive and create this massive impact on the planet, because that's what we're here to do, right? We're all a part of this beautiful, glorious puzzle of as the collective, and all of us are here to play a part and play our piece in the puzzle. And when we are going against our design, we're holding ourselves back from that. And we're really, in my opinion, we're holding the collective back, because all of us can't showcase all of our gifts if any one of us is holding their gift back. Do you know what I mean? Like we all, it's collectively, that's how this world works. It's all of us are playing our part. And so it really is going back to creating balance in the body and the mind and the spirit. And human design really for me is the blueprint for all of that. And so with this, I'm going to go through each of the types, and I'm going to talk about the most common chronic imbalances. That's a tongue twister for me, and I'll probably say it wrong about 25 times in this, but the common chronic imbalances that I see per each human design type. And I want to say this as kind of like a disclaimer before I jump in. This is not an extensive list of like, these are the only things that could ever go wrong if you're a, specific type. Like for manifestors, it's the only thing that could ever, I'm not saying that. What I am seeing, and it doesn't mean that there aren't any other chronic issues that won't ever come up for you besides these, right? But what I am saying is this is from my experience and from my interpretation of the not self theme and how that shows up in our emotions and our bodies. These are the most common chronic issues. So if you don't hear yours listed, it doesn't mean you're an anomaly or like you're weird or whatever. It just means it's not listed, right? But this is just speaking just kind of more general, the most common things I see. And some of the things you might be dealing with that I'm not listing could be an extension of the things I am talking about, right? It's kind of like the things I'm talking about led to what's going on in your body. Could be one of those situations. So that being said, I just want to make sure we know that this is not the extensive list and that there aren't any other chronic issues that are going to come up for you just because I'm not talking about them. So that being said, I'm going to go through each of the types, and we're going to start with manifestors. Okay. If you are a manifestor, the most common chronic symptoms are going to be hormonal issues, inflammation, blood sugar dysregulation, and high blood pressure. Okay. So when a manifestor is not living according to their design, they're going to feel their not self theme of anger. Anger is your not self theme as a manifestor. So often, manifestors play small, either because anger wasn't a safe emotion as a kid, their big ideas and their bigness were often questioned, or maybe that it was met with skepticism, or maybe it was just totally shut down as a kid. And that was their experience as a child. And or they were just always expected to do what others told them to do and just stay quiet and not question or try to do, their own thing. Therefore, if this is their experience, or some, variation of this is their experience, your experience as a manifestor, the anger gets buried in the body, right? Anger is your not self theme, and anger is going to come up, and then it's going to get buried in the body. And anger is an emotion that's found in the liver. According to traditional Chinese medicine, these big emotions, there are, a set number of definitive emotions, and they live in certain organs in the body. And then there are other emotions that are kind of variations of these main emotions in traditional Chinese medicine. And anger is one that is found in the liver. So this can show up if this is your not self theme, right? This is an emotion that's going to come up a lot for you as a manifestor. So this can show up as imbalances as related to inflammation or sluggishness in the liver, which can show up as hormonal issues, skin conditions, blood sugar dysregulation, right? All of those things can show up as from sluggishness in the liver, from this stored up anger that comes from the liver. Okay. This can also lead to things like high blood pressure or just overall inflammation from toxicity from your body not being able to release toxins, right? Your liver is one of those main detoxification organs. And so if it's not functioning optimally, then your body's not going to release toxins as well as it should, right? So how do we restore balance? First and foremost, supporting your liver. So we're supporting your liver with the right foods. with the right, maybe it's supplemental support, right? Things like milk thistle or dandelion root. Things like a lot of hydration is going to be supportive for your liver. Things that help bile flow, right? Lots of leafy greens, lots of cruciferous veggies. All of this is going to be really supportive for your liver. And then integrating practices for releasing stored emotions, like mindfulness practices, emotional release practices, like I do with my clients. Things like hypnotherapy or subconscious reprogramming to kind of dig up those emotions that might be stored, the things like anger that might be stored. Maybe it's breath work, and then practices to release emotions in the moment. So when you do feel, because the not self theme is like your anger is going to happen. It's going to come up. It's impossible for it not to, but it's how do we deal with it in the moment, right? How do we deal with it where it's not something that gets stuffed back down or stored in the body because we're not allowing ourselves to feel it and not allowing that emotion to emote, right? Remember, energy or emotions are energy in motion. And so we need to allow those to stay in motion. And so when we're preventing ourselves from feeling it or like stuffing it back down, then there it goes, being stored back in the body. And then it's causing these physical things to show up, right? So that is for my manifestors. Next is for my generators. The most common chronic symptoms for generators are hormonal imbalances, reproductive issues, gut issues, blood sugar imbalances, and anxiety. So when a generator is in their not self theme, they're going to feel frustrated. Frustration is your not self theme. And your sacral is going to take the hit because you are a sacral being as a generator. Your sacral is what's running the show. And your liver as well is going to take a hit because anger is on kind of on the same vibrational wavelength as frustration, anger and frustration. Like it's kind of another version of that, form of that. And so, just thinking about what I just said about the manifestors with the anger, it lives in the liver, right? So it's going to, your liver and your sacral center are going to take the biggest hit. So your sacral center is associated with our reproductive organs, right? Remember, each of the energy centers are associated with a certain gland or set of glands, and the sacral center are your reproductive glands, okay? And it's also connected to your upper GI organ. So it's this issues here from the sacral center are going to show up as hormonal imbalances, reproductive issues, maybe sex drive issues, as well as gut issues. So especially like upper GI gut issues. So when we're going against our sacral, right, this is going to show up as like a pushing or a forcing, or it might look like people pleasing. It might look like saying yes to things when really the body is saying no because we're trying to people please or we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, that kind of thing. Or because we have not gotten to the point where we can discern between can and should, right? Because as a sacral being, as a generator, you do have the energy to do a lot of things, but it doesn't mean you should, right? And if it's not letting you up, then it's definitely not a should, right? It means you should not. So this forcing and this pushing, this overworking, this really goes against your design as a generator, and it's going to show up as anxiety or burnout and it's going to affect your hormones and your blood sugar, right? Because you're going against your design, you're doing things that don't let you up. And it's like burning out the engine in your car, right? It's just going to burn you out. So how do we restore balance? First of all, setting boundaries is a big one. And it's what I was just saying about, coming to the point where you can discern between can and should, right? Just because you have the energy to do all the things doesn't mean you should be doing all the things. So boundaries, practice saying no. And as whoever it was that said that, no is a complete sentence. Like you don't have to explain yourself to people when you say no to things. And that goes for anybody. This is not just for generators, but for generators especially, because a lot of times generators have trouble setting boundaries and saying no. Also, move your body and do somatic work so you can really feel the full body yes and the full body no in your body and not in your head, right? When you're making decisions from your head, it's typically not how we want to make decisions. It's actually not how we want to make decisions. And it's most of the time, I would say it's probably not the right decision for you, but not the aligned decision for you. So when you move your body and you're doing somatic work to really like feel your body, learn your body, listen to your body, learn the signals and the rhythms and the signs, all the things your body is talking to you, how your body's talking to you, this is going to help you be able to connect to that full body yes and no, because that's where your sacral nudges are coming from, right? That those sacral nudges are coming from that full body yes or full body no. It's going to send you in the right direction. And then also supporting your liver, supporting your adrenals, right? Just like I was saying before for manifestors, whether that's with food, detoxification practices, all of those kind of things, your adrenal supporting with magnesium and sodium and lots of hydration and not too much high intensity exercise and caffeine, right? So we're not overtaxing the adrenals. And then incorporating things like meditation and breath work to keep yourself in the body. Again, we want to bring ourselves into the body so we can really listen to those messages and stay out of the head. Moving on to manifesting generators. For the common chronic symptoms for manifesting generators, this is usually showing up as hormonal imbalances, gut issues, blood sugar imbalances, adrenal and thyroid issues, anxiety, and inflammation. So when a Mani-Gen is in their not self theme, they're going to feel frustrated and angry. So it's kind of a combination of those last two, which can typically show up as impatience. The impact of these emotions is going to be found in your sacral center and your liver and your gut, just like I just talked about with those other two. So it's kind of a combination. How they're showing up in the body is a combination of the previous two. And impatience is really on the same vibrational wavelength as anger, which again is that emotion that lives and stored in the liver. So Mani-Gens, we get impatient because we feel like we should be further ahead, right? We want to move faster. We want to skip steps. We feel like we should be further ahead. Since our path is not linear, we know that we can move fast, right? And so this is going to lead to frustration as well. And this can lead you to really put pressure on yourselves to move faster, do more, get more done, do more, go faster, get more done, right? It's just like this constant cycle of doing more and going faster. However, if you're not checking in with your sacral and following your authority, this is going to lead to burnout, like I just talked about, and it's going to hit your adrenals and your thyroid hard. Your adrenals and your thyroid work so closely together. And so when you're burning yourself out from your adrenals, your thyroid, it's almost inevitable, especially if you don't catch it in time, that your thyroid's going to take a hit too. And it's going to affect so many other hormones as this cascade effect, right? It's your sex and steroid hormones. It's how your gut is digesting things. It's how your liver and your pancreas are working. There's so many things, as well as just overall inflammation in the body, right? Because it's this cascade effect. So when we're talking about how to restore balance here for Mani-Gens, first of all, taking care of your adrenals is going to be a big one. And supporting that with the right minerals, like I mentioned before, supporting it with the right levels of activity and really listening to your body. Again, Mani-Gens have a lot of energy and we have a tendency to overdo it in the movement department sometimes, a lot of us. And so if you're over exercising, well, yeah, exercise is great, but there is such a thing as too much. And if you're doing too much, then it's just going to be another strain on your adrenals and your thyroid. So it's going to take a hit. And remembering to support your energy and your blood sugar by eating whole foods regularly throughout the day. Mani-Gens really do require more caloric intake than the other types because you have so much energy flowing through your pressure centers and through the center. You just have so much energy flowing through your body. So eating regularly, like keep your blood sugar stable. That's going to be really supportive. Slow down and tune into your cycle before taking action, before making decisions. So this could be things like breath work, meditation, journaling, mindfulness practices. It's all about, just like I said, for generators, getting out of your mind and getting into the body, doing that. And then also, of course, I forgot to mention the liver, but I do want to mention the liver. So supporting your liver and your adrenals. Okay, moving on to my projectors. So for the common chronic symptoms for my projectors, is it's going to show up as adrenal fatigue, blood sugar dysregulation, thyroid issues, hormonal imbalances, anxiety, depression, and immune issues, which can include autoimmune issues. So when a projector is out of alignment, you're going to feel your not self theme of bitterness. Now, this can show up in the liver and the gallbladder, which is affecting your hormones and the detox processes in the body. So your gallbladder is another really important detoxification organ. And it does work closely together with your liver. And when both of these are going to take a hit, are taking a hit, then it's really going to affect how your body's detoxing, how your body is converting hormones, how your body is getting rid of excess hormones. There's so much impacted by that. So projectors can take on a lot of conditioning from the world of generators that we live in, right? We live in a world full of generators and mani-gens. Like 60% of the world is a generator or manifesting generator. And so projectors can really take on a lot of conditioning. So they can feel the pressure to always be doing something, always be productive, got to keep doing, right? And this is really the recipe for getting out of alignment for projectors, experiencing things like burnout and anxiety from doing too much and really not honoring their energetic needs and their energetic boundaries. It can show up as overthinking. It can show up as just scattered energy. Just feel like your energy is like, it's not in any particular area. It's just all over the place, right? And this can show up as immune issues because worry and overthinking are emotions of the spleen, which affects our immune system. And so it's affecting how our immune system works, right? And so it's going to affect overall immunity and it can turn into things like autoimmune disorders. Okay. So projectors, their sensitive auras really do make their body sensitive to things like this. We have to really pay attention to where we're putting our energy, how we're honoring our energy. So here, how to restore balance. Look for ways that you can delegate. If you have a business, especially for my business owners listening, or if this can apply to your career and it can apply to your household too. Even if you don't have a career or a business, it can still apply to your household. Look for ways you can delegate. If you have a business, look for ways that you can bring on a team member who's a generator or mani-gen to fill in their energetic gaps. So like I have a friend who is a functional practitioner who's a projector, and when she hires people, she requires, I mean, she's not like a human design expert or anything. That's not part of her, business or anything, but she knows enough about it to know that she wants their human design when she is looking at their application. And she wants to hire generators or mani-gens to fill in her energetic gaps because she knows she has certain limitations with where her energy is. And it's the most supportive thing for her to fill it with a generator or mani-gen who can fill in those gaps, right? Also for projectors, prioritize rest, prioritize sleep. You really do require more rest and sleep than other types. Be mindful of the exercise that you choose. Some projectors do better with only doing low impact exercise and staying away from high intensity exercise. Not to say you can't ever do it, because there's plenty of projectors who do, but if you feel that's more supportive for you and your energy, then do that, honor that. And then supporting your immune system, supporting your adrenals, constantly supporting those things and supporting your energetic boundaries. And then last is for my reflectors. So for my reflectors, the common chronic C, I told you I was going to miss say it. That's probably the fifth time. So common chronic symptoms, good Lord, are depression, breathing or respiratory issues, adrenal fatigue, and immune issues. So when a reflector is out of alignment, and remember reflectors are kind of like the unicorns, right? It's only 1% of the population. So it's our rare types. When you're out of alignment, though, you're going to feel your not self theme of disappointment. And this typically happens when you've chosen an environment. This could be a physical environment, or it could be environment in terms of like the people around you. That's either draining or overwhelming or both. If it's draining or overwhelming, that's going to make you feel your not self theme of disappointment. This can lead to feelings of sadness or even just complete despair about the works of the world around you as a reflector. And these emotions, the emotions of sadness, despair, like depression, those emotions live in the lungs, which can manifest themselves as respiratory or breathing issues, things like, chronic respiratory issues, asthma, chronic lung infections, that kind of thing. And it can also lead to feelings of overwhelm, which can show up as adrenal fatigue or chronic fatigue or depression. Right. And overwhelm reflectors, because they're such sensitive auras, can really, if they're not careful about taking on the energy of the world around them, the overwhelm comes from just this feeling of overwhelm of the state of society. Right. So that can show up as that, the adrenal fatigue, the chronic fatigue, or the depression. So when you're restoring balance as a reflector, first of all, clearing your energy is super important. I mean, clearing your energy after you've been in contact with people, just people in general. So especially if you've been at like a crowded place, you're at a coffee shop or you're at a mall or at a store, or, whatever it is, being around a lot of people, spend time clearing your energy after that. And then spending time in nature and time alone is really supportive for reflectors to go inward, like going inward and supporting that inner world that's so sensitive for you as a reflector is going to be really supportive. Journaling is a really supportive practice for a reflector. And then create a work environment that supports your energy and supports you, makes you feel like at peace and makes you feel calm. That's going to be really helpful for you and your energy. And then prioritizing rest and your alone time. This is going to help you clear your energy. And then the last thing here is taking time in your decision-making process. And if you did my masterclass, which I'll put a link to it here in the show notes, my masterclass series, I talk about how reflectors make decisions because it's very unique and how reflectors are meant to make decisions. But reflectors are not meant to make quick decisions. You are not quick decision-making people. And if you rush the process, you can really get into that not self theme of disappointment because you're not allowing yourself the time to go through all the feels and go through all the things to make your decisions. So, make sure you take your time making decisions and don't rush the process. So that is all the types. And those are the common chronic conditions, chronic symptoms according to your human design type. I hope this was helpful in kind of understanding the physical things that can show up for you. And the things maybe that I think the other helpful piece is just knowing what you might be susceptible to, and not in like a fear way to like be afraid of what could happen. But I think just the awareness of being mindful of what could show up. And if it shows up, maybe not a chronic way where you feel all the time, but like, for example, as a projector, if you find yourself like, man, I'm getting sick all the time these days, right? Those immune issues are showing up. I think it's a good one of those signs where it's like, okay, let's check in with how am I, setting boundaries for my energy. Am I getting enough sleep? Am I getting enough rest? Do I need to delegate things, right? I think it's a good signal to kind of check in with yourself, just like the not self theme, right? Your not self theme is really like your compass to kind of reassess. Okay, do I need to pivot? What do I need to shift here? What needs to change so I'm not in that not self theme? And I think the physical symptoms really are a sign that you've been in your not self theme for a while. And that's how it's showing up, right? Is these physical things. So I think it's just a good kind of assessment tool to kind of figure out where you are and what's out of alignment. If you are wanting to know how to live more in alignment with your design and applying it to your wellness, into your business, into your life, I'm going to put a link to my 3-part masterclass series. It's going to be free for a little while longer. And then after that, it's going to be a paid masterclass series. And whether you're listening to it or watching it as a paid or free, this is such a great way to get started on your own human design journey. And I'm going through some of the big pieces of human design. So I'm not getting too granular with it, so it's not too overwhelming or confusing. But I think it's such a good way to learn more about what I'm talking about here and to be able to support yourself and your wellness and understanding what your energetic blueprint is, right? And your decision making and how you interact with the world around you and your energy and where the best places to set boundaries and where am I pushing too far, right? I think this is all really helpful stuff that really impacts how our physical body is performing, how our mental body is performing. There's just so many things that you can take from this. So anyway, I'll put a link in the show notes for this. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And if any of these are showing up, feel free to send me a DM on Instagram at the Hope Pedraza, or shoot me an email if you're on my email list. And I'd love to hear what's coming up for you around this. And if this is resonating, if you're like, oh my gosh, every symptom you listed is one that I have. Like, I'd love to hear and just how you're working through that. If I can support you with any of this, then let me know. I'm always here. And I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Hopeful and Wholesome, y'all. If you found value in this week's episode, please subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave a review to let me know what you thought. I'd love to know what you find useful in these episodes so I can know how to provide the most value I can to my listeners. And if you have topics you'd like to know more about, I'd love to hear those as well. So shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. It's at the Hope Pedraza, or you can visit my website, hopefulandwholesome.com. Thanks, y'all.